all here today to announce the success of Operation Broken Heart. It's the third annual nationwide initiative to make our communities safer by intensifying our efforts to rid our communities of child predators. Child victimization is a real problem here in Louisiana as it is around the rest of the country. And me, along with everyone else that's standing here, wants to do something about that and wants to make sure that we bring child predators to justice. Every time that an image or a video is shared on the internet, that child is re-victimized again. And of course, as a father, I know I do everything I could to protect my child, and I want the citizens of Louisiana to know that as the Attorney General, I, along with all of these great people here today, are going to do everything we can to protect their children. In April and May of this year, as part of Operation Broken Heart, our Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force was comprised of 174 law enforcement agencies throughout the state of Louisiana, and they have arrested over 57 alleged perpetrators for the distribution, possession, and sometimes both the distribution and possession of sexual abuse images involving children. This initiative by this office and other law enforcement officers, again, who are represented behind me, has done a tremendous job in bringing justice to victims of child exploitation. Today's announcement is proof that this office's policy to align closely with state, local, and federal partners is working. And since taking office, I have teamed with law enforcement partners to enforce the rule of law, from tackling public corruption to thwarting child exploitation. Of course, due to recent budget cuts, our department may have to rely more on some of these other partners. But despite what happens in the Capitol, this office remains focused, as well as all of these gentlemen here today, focused on doing what's best in the interest of Louisianians, and certainly when it includes protecting our children. As Louisiana's Attorney General, I want to thank all of these agencies who participated in the effort today in helping keep our citizens safe. I want to especially thank our Louisiana Department of Justice Cybercrime Unit for your diligence and dedication to public safety, and through your hard work in working with these other agencies, have arrested 56 people in exploitation charges since January. Their work is absolutely, and of course, since this administration took office 6 months ago, in addition to arresting those 56 perpetrators, we've done a whole lot more in trying to help keep our community safe. What's more is these public servants help law enforcement agencies throughout the state be reactive, proactive in fighting crime. Their work is absolutely commendable, and their service to Louisiana is irreplaceable. And I hope that those around the state and in this Capitol appreciate all of the hard work that all of these law enforcement agencies, including the Department of Justice, is making to the state. And I know as the number of children and teenagers using the internet increases, the proliferation of child pornography increases, and the heightened online activity by predators seeking unsupervised contact with minor children, it will continue to increase. And we're going to continue to do something to prevent that exploitation. Thank you again. And I would now ask the Department of Homeland Security Resident Agent in Charge, Ron Malatana, to say a few words on Operation Broken Heart, and then he'll be joined afterwards by Lieutenant Colonel Mike Edmondson with the Louisiana State Police.
Homeland Security Investigations is proud of our partnership with the Attorney General's Office and all of our state and local partners on the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. This program is so important because it actively targets people who will try to exploit our children. This program has been highly successful, not just here in Baton Rouge, but around the state. And it's something that we plan to pursue in the future, and we just appreciate your cooperation and help on this issue. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Mr. Colonel.
Thank you, General. I think what's interesting, and I've been part of these groups, as I stand up here with Sheriff Weber and Sheriff Torres and Sheriff Kaz since our first inception. If you think back to that very first press conference, there was only a few people up here. So I think what you see in indication today is a further leadership, certainly of our Attorney General Jeff Landry and his commitment. Even when, before he was actually sworn in, the conversations he and I had. He said, what can I do differently? What can I add to? What about the equipment you might need, the investigative purposes, the training that we do? What can my department do so we can step up the things that we need to do so that the public wins? Because that's what this is all about. This is about the public. This is protecting a group of individuals that can't protect themselves. I go around the state all the time, and y'all have heard this from me, but it's just true. I tell parents, if you're not talking to your kids, somebody else is. And that means you don't have a say-so in it, because they're getting their answers from somewhere else. As I think back over the last 2 months, the cases that we've worked just in our victims crime unit, state police, that make up those sheriffs I talked about, that make up the Attorney General's office, that makes up the chiefs in this particular area, that makes up state police, the FBI, along with the Attorney General, 29 of those cases and 16 arrests right here in the capital region area. So it's indicative of a problem that we have, not just here, but around the state of Louisiana. You know, I sit here and think about the cases. One recently towards New Orleans was an individual who was looking for a 10-year-old girl, a 10-year-old. I think back to the case just a few weeks ago you saw in the paper where over 1 million files a guy had out of the Shreveport area. Let me just tell you where those files are, because people are sitting there going, you know what, I turn my computer on, it just pops up like a pop-up video. Oh, it popped up a video of a child being raped. It doesn't work like that. Those things just don't pop up on your computer. You have to actively search. It's kind of like being in a bad part of town, and you're at a dark alley, and you look down that alley, and it's all black. You go down there anyway. It's all dark. You can't see. You got to go down that alley. You've got to specifically type in the words where you're dealing with an infant, where you're dealing with a juvenile, when you're dealing with an individual, the things that you want to see. And let me tell you something. I'm the head of state police. I've been doing this for 36 years. I'm a parent of 4 kids. I don't get why a grown person wants to see a video of an infant being raped. But there was 3 of those videos on the guy in the Shreveport area. 3 videos like that. That's just not something that pops up. You've got to go look for it. You've got to trade it. You've got to sell it. Think back for a case in North Louisiana. Sheriff and the state police, the Attorney General was in the area. They couldn't quite put stuff together, and one of the deputies said, I saw something in the room. They went back in there was a little girl in her music box, just a small little music box. She opened that up, and there's a little bitty piece of paper. She remembers seeing something that looked different. She opened up, there's a little piece of paper. Unfolded, it said, help me. Help me, from a 12-year-old little girl. The most sought after pictures on our internet as we stand here today is a 4-year-old little girl that's being abused vaginally, orally, and anally. I don't sit here telling you these things to ruin your day. I sit here to tell you things that these people and the ones that work for us see every single day that's happening out there. Because let me just tell you something. It starts off with curiosity. But you know what? That curiosity only goes so far. And then it leads into hands-on offense. Satisfaction is what they're looking for. And at some point, those pictures aren't enough. Then it's that touching an individual. It's drifting by them to see if you get their reaction. Whether you're in a mall, whether you're in a playground, whether you're in a school, a movie theater, an airport, or just out in the community. That curiosity, those pictures at some point is enough. And they could possibly lead to abduction. We've got to start somewhere. And when we look at the cases we've been able to work, the things we've been able to touch, the education we're receiving, look at our partners from Homeland Security. Look at our partners from the whole Department of Justice and the leadership of Jeff Landry. It tells us we're moving in the right direction. It tells us that we're doing the things we need to do to protect our most valuable asset, and that's our kids. I applaud these individuals up here. I applaud the fact that not because I get the opportunity to stand up here with them, but I get the opportunity to know who they are and what they're about and why we're standing up here today and talking about the things we're doing. It's about making a difference. It's about giving hope to that girl that's reaching her hand out that needs some help. Maybe it's us that grabs that hand and pulls her in and takes care of her and say, we can make a difference in your life. This is what this is about. I can tell you we can only do so much. We need the help of the public. We need the help of individuals that see something that's not right. They need to report it to us. Take that computer that's tucked away in one of your kids' bedroom, bring it out in the public. You should know your kids' passwords. You should know what they're visiting. You should sit down at that computer and you should look with them. When they're interested in a word that you're offended by, they're still interested in it. sit down with them, type it in, and show them what it's all about. But do it as a parent, do it as a guardian. And when you see something out there that doesn't seem right, call us, give us the opportunity to work with you to handle that. That's what today is all about. I applaud you, General, for what you do and what you bring to bear. I appreciate the fact that you stepped up on this long before you took office, even you in Congress. So I'm pleased to stand up here with my counterparts, but mostly my friends, who simply want to make a difference, and that's what this operation does. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Colonel. Thank you, Sheriff. Sheriff, the Sheriff Association. I know that, you know.
Thank you, General.
Yeah, why don't you?
I'm Sheriff Craig Weber from Lafourche Parish, and I certainly, at the outset, want to echo the sentiments of Colonel Mike Edmondson and our Attorney General. I just want to share maybe 3 points, 3 perspectives. One, no city, town, village, or parish is immune from this crime. The single most significant invention in the history of time has been the internet. The single most destructive invention since the beginning of time has been the internet. So little bitty chiefs and sheriffs with small budgets are going to be victimized by this crime and don't have the wherewithal. That's my second point. We need to partner, as the Attorney General is doing here today, bringing all the stakeholders in and becoming a force multiplier to combat this hideous, insidious crime. And my final point is that it is the most insidious crime. If I burglarize your house, you don't become a burglar. But statistically, we know that if we victimize children, there's a high probability that they will grow up to be adults who will victimize children. So this crime needs to take a priority. And despite the fact that the Attorney General is facing cuts to his budget, having to make difficult decisions, I know the sheriffs of Louisiana and the police chiefs respect his commitment to this priority. Thank you, General.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, and again, I think it's important for Louisianans out there to recognize, you know, sometimes we hear a lot about how different agencies don't collaborate together. This is a prime example about what happens when there is leadership amongst these agencies that get together to solve a particular problem that we're having in Louisiana. And you know, what happens is these types of crimes, it plays on the minds of parents out there. I can tell you, I know my wife consistently watching our little boy everywhere that he goes. We shouldn't have parents out there consistently having to worry about whether their child is just run off into the airport for a second, you know, while you're in the airport, or just out of your sight for a second. This is, when we do this work here, when we bring those people to justice, it helps to deter those types of crimes. And I would hope that at some point in time, we would be able to just about eliminate that here in Louisiana. So again, I want to thank all of our federal, state, and local partners for coming today, and appreciate y'all for coming by the press conference.